collateral is now starting to rise. Hey guys, so this is my review for the 4th episode of True Detective. Wow, the blood is really going. So this episode was relatively slow at first. There was definitely an interesting look into Taylor Kitsch. The guy is on his bender now. He had slept with a dude and woke up at his place and just got hit with this whole shit, I've done it again sort of thing. The guy is just having this amazing emotional conflict with himself. He's out in the cab crying. The man is having such emotional conflict. This moral choice. He's being hit with what he thinks should be right, and aside from what he thinks he wants. If anyone ever had any question about this guy's acting chops, he has proven himself. His acting in this episode was phenomenal. And other people who are on the bender include Rachel McAdams. She is now in trouble with that officer who she slept with at the very beginning of the season. He's now filed a sexual harassment order with IA, and now she's in deep water. The only one who actually isn't in deep water this episode is Colin Farrell, who actually relatively up until the end is pretty, he's like, hey, shit isn't happening to me today. That's good. Vince Vaughn is starting to turn back into a gangster, and his kind of descent back into the criminal underworld was interesting because a lot of the conversation was numbers and tactics, and like, okay, this is interesting that he's getting back into it, but the numbers are boring. But then every single scene was able to end with something interesting. Like when he talked to the first guys, and he says, that's the only way I'm able to keep your coffee down, and by the way, it wasn't my teeth I pulled. Or he made a comment about Colin Farrell, like, hey, I like that you're getting soberish. Like Vince Vaughn, his humor may have been like filing through into this episode. It was actually a funny episode. There's a few jokes that happened that were actually quite funny despite all the despairing stuff. Vince Vaughn, you're really growing on me. If you actually acted like this throughout your entire career, I wouldn't have hated you up until this moment. But, you're doing really good. Another thing that was really cool in this episode was actually Rachel McAdams went back to her dad, and she's actually starting to reconcile. She's starting to realize that the life that she's led has really not given her any positives, and it's starting to backfire on her. And she starts to reconcile with her sister, she tries to reconcile with her dad. At the same time, we're finally dipping into another True Detective trademark, a conspiracy. The mayor is in deep. And they're actually thinking that he might have a connection with Casper's killer. And they've now linked a watch that Casper had to a Mexican pimp. And now they're actually closing in on who they think is the killer. And oh shit, stuff went down. There's all this setup of what was going on. There's this building that the guy is inside, and the cops got their armor on and they're going up to it. And there's this protest for this rail line off the side, and you're kind of wondering what's going on with that. And then this gunfight happens. And at first it's like, okay, it's a regular gunfight. But then collateral damage. Those protesters get fooged up. And what's interesting too is that not only are the criminals the ones who are hitting the civilians, it's the cops. So when the episode ends with all the bodies on the ground and Taylor Kitsch, Rachel McAdams, and Colin Farrell just standing there like, oh, shit. And that's when the episode ends. It actually ended with a freeze frame. If we ever thought that the characters were going to reach a low, they just hit it now with a basic massacre. So all around, this episode was really constant. There was a great character drama with Taylor Kitsch and some interesting developments with Rachel McAdams. Vince Vaughn, again, had a really interesting part, despite the fact that he actually isn't really connected. He's connected on the side with what's going on, but his story is kind of running on its own. The shootout at the end wasn't as creative, and it wasn't a long shot like Who Goes There from the first season, but it was still good because of the collateral. The thing that my girlfriend was pointing out, like, why can't they just shoot him? It's like, no, this is like, I like this show because it's trying to be a realistic sort of drama, and then it got even more realistic with all the people caught in the crossfire. That was crazy. If the last episode got the blood flowing, this one gave it an adrenaline straight into the heart. This episode was fantastic, and it's definitely now we're going into the downslope now of the final 4 episodes of the season, and I'm excited. I'm excited as hell now. So for my rating of this episode, it definitely gets a 5 out of 7. So yeah, really looking forward to the next episode. Very, very good show. It's definitely proving itself as a contender for the first season. Sure, the character drama and the banter definitely isn't as good as the first season, but it's separating itself. It's definitely going for a more broader and much more of a larger scale of a drama. Anyway, guys, that's all from me, so I'll see you guys later.